Welcome to AI ConvoCast, where we bring you the latest in AI and tech innovation. Quick housekeeping. Check out the affiliate links in our description. Using them supports the show, and please don't forget to rate, review, and share if you like what you hear. Let's jump right in. Today, we will be going over Google speeding up Gemini for smart home commands, a new quantitative analysis feature hitting Google Forms, Microsoft testing a built-in browser for Copilot, and Anthropic reporting record-breaking Claude signups tied to some interesting federal dynamics. Let's get into it. Google just pushed out a performance update to Gemini for Home that significantly cuts down response latency for common smart home commands. If you have ever asked your voice assistant to turn off a light and then stood there waiting awkwardly for something to happen, this update is aimed squarely at that problem. Google says the latency for everyday smart home commands has been drastically reduced, and the update also improves how well Gemini understands which devices you are actually talking about. So, for example, if you say turn off the kitchen, Gemini now intelligently targets just the lights in that room instead of accidentally triggering devices elsewhere in your house. That quote comes from Anish Kadakaran, who is the Chief Product Officer for Gemini for Home, and he announced the changes publicly. The improvements include better room-level targeting and faster execution specifically for lighting and device control. This update applies to Gemini for Home early access users and ties more tightly into Google Home automations overall. It also complements a feature that rolled out earlier in the week called Live Search for Nest Cameras, which lets you search through camera footage using natural language. All of this builds on the voice agent testing phase Google has been running inside the Home app, and the speed improvements suggest Google is serious about making Gemini feel like a true real-time home orchestrator rather than just a chatbot layered on top of the old Google Assistant infrastructure. Sticking with Google, Gemini is also pushing deeper into the enterprise side of things with a new capability rolling out inside Google Forms. Starting March 8th, Gemini can now extract quantitative insights from text responses in Forms. So if you run a survey with a bunch of open-ended questions and get back hundreds of written answers, Gemini can automatically summarize those responses and turn qualitative text into structured quantitative analysis. Think of it as going from a wall of free text to actual usable data points without having to read through everything manually. The feature is rolling out across multiple Google Workspace tiers, including Business Starter, Enterprise Starter, Education Plus, and nonprofit accounts. Google noted the rollout is gradual and could take up to 15 days before it shows up across all domains. There is also a promotional window for certain generative features that runs through at least May 31st of this year. This is part of a broader push from Google to embed Gemini across the entire Workspace suite, not just in Docs and Sheets, but in tools like Forms, where a lot of real-world business data collection actually happens. For teams that rely on surveys for feedback, research, or internal assessments, this could save a meaningful amount of time and effort in the analysis phase. Now, over on the Microsoft side, Copilot is getting a pretty interesting new capability that is currently being tested with insiders. Microsoft has introduced a feature that lets Copilot open links directly inside a sidepane browser view within the app. So instead of clicking a link and getting bounced out to Edge or another browser, the content loads right there next to your Copilot conversation. And here is the key part. Copilot can actually access the context of any opened tabs in that sidepane if you grant it permission. Windows Central reported that, quote, the new feature for Copilot can also access the context of any opened tabs in the sidepane if you grant permission. End quote. What that means in practice is you could be reading an article or looking at a web page and ask Copilot questions about what is on that page without having to copy and paste anything or switch between windows. It reduces the friction of jumping back and forth between your browser and your assistant. This comes on the heels of other recent Copilot features like Copilot Tasks and automated Outlook scheduling, and it represents a move toward what people in the industry are calling agentic browsing. Essentially, Microsoft is collapsing the browser and the assistant into one unified environment, which is a subtle but meaningful step toward Copilot being able to act on web content rather than just chat about it. And finally, Anthropic has been having quite a moment. The company reported that Claude business subscriptions have quadrupled since the start of 2026, and Claude has been setting new daily sign-up records every single day since early March. Anthropic stated that business subscriptions have, quote, quadrupled since the start of 2026, end quote, and that the platform has hit new sign-up records daily since early last week. The timing here is notable because this surge lines up with some high-profile tension between Anthropic and the Pentagon. Federal use of Claude is being phased out following contract disputes that surfaced back in February, and instead of that controversy hurting demand, it appears to have actually boosted it. Coverage from the Washington Post and TechCrunch both point to consumer and enterprise growth momentum that seems connected to, or at least coinciding with, the federal fallout. The read from many in the industry is that Anthropic's stance during the Pentagon negotiations reinforced trust among enterprises and users who prioritize clear governance boundaries around how their tools are used. Whatever the exact cause, the numbers are hard to argue with. Quadrupling business subscriptions in roughly 2 months and breaking daily sign-up records is a remarkable growth trajectory for any platform, and it puts Anthropic in a strong position heading into the rest of the year. Thank you for listening to AI Convo Cast. Please don't forget to rate, review, and share if you like what you hear. Thanks and hope to see you again next time.